I'm Saida Desilets. I'm the founder of something called the Succulence Revolution and the author of a book called The Emergence of the Sensual Woman. And what I get to do, my privilege on this planet, is to share my passion and my love that we can actually self-actualize through our body. And specifically I work with women, with their bodies, with their hearts, with their spirits, and how can we fully access our genius through all parts of our body.
And give us an idea of your flow in terms of travel. I know you take this offering all over the world.
So this year alone, I've been in Asia, I've been in the Caribbean, Canada, the US, South Africa, and back to Asia, and Europe as well, and Australia, I guess I forgot. So I've been everywhere. And so what's amazing about what I'm doing, because I'm working with women, is what's remarkable is globally there's a need for the message that I have. And so I feel very privileged to have the opportunity to go into communities and meet the different kinds of women, but the core needs are the same. They want to know who they are, how to better live in this world, and how to have a little bit more self-freedom and self-expression.
And how long have you been doing this in its current or a similar form?
I've been working this way and traveling since I'd say 2001 is where I really officially launched. I was doing more non-official things before then, but as an official business in 2001.
And what are some of the things you find attractive about the mobile lifestyle?
Well, I think for me, if I stay in one place too long, it's like I form a bubble around myself. And as soon as I remove myself from my environment, that bubble bursts. And I'm in a place where, again, it's that beginner's mind. I'm seeing things from fresh eyes. I get to also not make assumptions about people, because what's true in one place is definitely not true somewhere else. So I'm always in this perpetual state of curiosity. What's it really like for you? And especially with the subject of female sexuality, this is really intriguing because each culture has its unique perspective, and there's also a global idea about it.
And do you currently have a home base that you go back to from time to time?
No. I think about a year ago we got married in Maui, we were living in Maui, and we put everything in storage and we left. And so the home base is our own hearts and our suitcase at this point.
And I think I know the answer to this question, but tell us a little bit about whether you became mobile as a necessity for your business, or whether you crafted the business around your intention to be mobile and travel the world.
I definitely crafted the business around my love of travel. I remember almost the day it happened, I said, I've got to think of a way that I could travel this world and still make money so that I could enjoy and not have to run back home every few months. So the business was definitely had that idea. It wasn't extremely mobile at first, but with the use of internet, it definitely helped mobilize everything. So now it's quite mobile and global.
Well, so you've been doing this for a while. In what ways is the reality different than what your anticipation or projection of it was?
Mm-hmm. The reality of going through customs, of security in airports, of losing your luggage, of getting ill because of different water, maybe having some cultural clashes. These things are not so fantastic. They're exhausting. As much as I travel, I'm actually tired. Sometimes just like I don't want to see another airport or another airplane. So my preferred mode of travel, even though I am nomadic, is to go somewhere and immerse myself a little bit longer in a culture versus island hopping or continent hopping. So that's basically, yeah, it's quite a detriment to our health if we're always shifting the climate. So having a little bit of balance. I think we can get gung-ho. I know it looks really exciting on cheaptickets.com. You're like, oh, I could go there and buy this ticket, and you make all this plan, but then it happens. You're like, gosh, I'm really tired. Why did I get the cheaper flight? I should have flown direct or something like this. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I think there's a term for it. They call it slow travel.
Yes. Yeah.
And sink in and enjoy the culture a little bit.
Exactly.
What are some of the most important skills or abilities that have enabled you to sustain yourself through this, through all of the airports and custom situations and difficulties I imagine that would come up when you get to a new place and you're trying to find accommodations and...
A few things. One, I have a massive sense of humor. I'm able to laugh at virtually everything. And getting a pat down, and I'm like, oh great, thanks for the lovely massage. And I sort of bring this attitude. I'm also very curious and flexible, so I think you have to have a sense of adventure, because plans do change, things do happen. It's like, okay, so what do we do now? And that's not possible if you're not feeling well. So it's very, very important for me. Once I arrive somewhere, I have a set routine that I jump into, which is some physical training and making sure my eating schedule is good and not getting too exotic too quickly with my food options so I can acclimatize. So those are the main skills to make it reasonable to travel.
And what are a few of the most exciting aspects of what you do? I'm talking probably more about the offering that you bring to women.
Okay. I think the most exciting for me is going from seeing women looking and expressing a sensation of being shut down or unhappy to really blossoming, and you can see their beauty and their light and their confidence emerging. For me, that's the most satisfying thing, that simply by learning some new concepts, some new ideas, their world changes for the better. There's a deep transformation, and that's beautiful and enriching.
And do you feel like what you're offering right now is the highest form of that, or is it growing and changing and turning into something more wonderful?
It's a yes to both questions. I feel that I offer the ultimate best of what I have all the time, and I have for the last decade. But I also am at a point in my life right now where I see, because I'm traveling globally and I see what's going on in little villages in Swaziland and these places, there's a deep need for a paradigm shift on the planet around how we deal with women and their sexuality. So my offering is about to get much bigger and more global, and the message shifting purely from just sexuality to the whole experience of being a woman on the planet.
If money were no object, would you do anything differently? And is there a project or something that you would do?
Absolutely. So the first thing I'd have is a little bit more of a support team. So if money was not an object, I think I would just have a few more people coordinating things for me. I'm a woman of many skills. And a project that I would absolutely love to do is, and I actually spoke to the United Nations about this already, so it's something I'd love to see. Whether they take it or not, I'd love to just gift it to the world. And that's providing a new paradigm for how teenagers are taught about sexuality. And that's huge, and there is interest in that. It does require some funding to make that happen.
Do you feel that the location-free lifestyle contributes anything of substance to the world, other than what you're doing locally? As all of us travel around the world, interacting and sharing and all that, do you feel it's actually of benefit to the world in any way?
I can only speak for myself, so I feel that what I bring to the communities that I go to is I definitely bring them a worldly view. That women always ask, well, how do the women feel over there somewhere? Is it the same issues for them? And what's gorgeous is somehow this flavor, because I get to interact with so many different cultures. I can bring what's real. It's not something from the TV or even a guidebook. It's a real living experience of having talked to and interacted and even touched the people in the areas. And I think that's very important, because we can make up, we have these sort of fluffy or hypey ideas of what's going on in the world, and we can get really extreme and we get angry about it's injustice here, or there's this thing happening here. But what I found when I would go to communities, I said, well, actually, I've been to that community, and the women are actually more powerful than they're being portrayed, or whatever. So there's a bit of realism that comes with traveling and meeting other travelers and getting their real feedback. I think that's that's the gift we can give the world, is just report our actual experience and counterbalance a bit of that hypey media projected experience.
Is it possible to share with us what might be similar through all these different cultures and communities of women, and also what might be really different?
Okay. There's a core need for a woman to feel that her body and her pleasure is a birthright and worthy of herself and worthy of profound respect. That's a core need everywhere I go. It doesn't matter if it's North America or Asia or Africa. It doesn't matter. The differences lie in how the cultures deal with sexuality. So sometimes I go in cultures and they have a very healthy, outgoing sexuality, but relationally they're weak. Or I go to a different culture and relationally they're quite strong, but sexually they're weak. So I can't pinpoint, it would take me a while to name each country and tell you specifically what I found. But sometimes I've been surprised. Cultures where sexuality is quite blatant, say in North America, it's very blatant. It's in the media, it's everywhere, sexy, sexy. They're actually more shut down than other cultures where sexuality is not so blatant, yet somehow it's more natural. So I find that surprising for me. I'm like, wow, I expected really open women in this culture, and they're not. Or vice versa, I expect really closed off, frightened women, and they're really open. So I think there's assumptions that we make about certain kinds of cultures and sexuality, and I'm still learning about what those are.
Yeah, great answer. Thank you for that. What advice would you give to somebody wanting to follow a similar path? Or what advice would you give to yourself before you started on this path?
Just go for your dreams. I mean, it's really, if you have the itchy gypsy feet, it's worth it to pick up and go. You'll feel much more alive, much more, even though it's challenging, there's a lot of things that aren't sure. It's not a 9-to-5 job where you're going to get your money. There's a lot of uncertainty. But personally, that uncertainty is very enlivening, and I would probably not thrive in a climate where I had to be in a 9-to-5 job. I'd feel more dead. So if you're comfortable with uncertainty and you're capable of, you're a resourceful person, meaning you're creative, you make connections, you're very able to let people know what you want to do. Because, for example, before I started all this business of world travel, I'd introduce myself, say, hi, I'm Saida, I teach seminars all over the world, and it was bullshit, I wasn't doing that yet. But so starting voicing that the dream is real, I was just telling people this is what I'm doing, and then it happened really fast. So that was another great way to make things happen.
One last question. Any last thoughts that you would like to share with the community at large of other conscious nomads and other people maybe considering becoming conscious nomads?
That's a good question. For me, symbolically moving our body all over the planet means physically traveling. You could stay as rigid and stuck in your own worlds if you're not willing to allow the same travel to happen inwardly. So what I'm saying is, if you're in a situation where you're really wanting to be nomadic but you cannot be, you don't actually need to physically move your body to experience the expansion and the opening that comes with coming across different cultures and different ideas. You can actually challenge yourself right here, right at home, going, okay, what are ways that I could see this very city or this very town differently? How could I meet people with the attitude that it's brand new and in curiosity? So that, I think that's important, because I meet a lot of travelers and they just sort of take their little piece of home, or if they come from a little redneck town, then their little redneck piece goes with them, and they bring that attitude everywhere, and I see them not actually being gifted, not letting the osmosis of the cultures that they're in. They're just running around, having parties everywhere, and that's really, I think, a waste of time for people traveling. But if to do it consciously, the first thing I would do is just really get curious. I mean, I love people, and I think my greatest pleasure in the world is to make friends in new cultures and to learn from them. And what I learned from most cultures is there's so much more heart available if we're willing to really open up. So Thank you. It's been fun to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you.